welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Hunt. Donnie Hess here, back with another AFL round review here on the show. And I must say, my timing may not have been ideal for the two guest hosts that I have hopping on today after this particular round, but you know what? We'll make the best of it. These are two of my favorite people to chat with. We will start off the Bevy of Bloods host extraordinaire, Chris, hopping on the podcast. Chris, great to see you again, sir.
Hey, it's great to be back here again. Good to talk to you, Donny. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to round 17, all but one game. But we'll have to talk about it anyway, mate. But it's me and young Puss over here. We'll be all over it. It's all good.
Always enjoy it, Chris. Always enjoy having you on. And defender extraordinaire for the beloved Sydney Swans AFLW roster. I know she's tired, but she's so nice to hop on the podcast. Miss Brianna Tarrant. Brianna, great to see you again.
Hi, massive honor actually. Yeah, I've jumped on with Miss Madam over here too. It seems to be the podcast of pets tonight or this morning. But yeah, very happy to be back.
Well, I would grab my peppermint, but she's just a little bit too far for me. So people on the podcast have known. I even had a subscriber one time actually tell me that I should get her a Swan's Guernsey and make her a permanent part of the show. Unfortunately, she loves her sleep, and it is currently kind of early in the morning, so I will not try to disturb her to hop on the podcast. But ladies and gentlemen, round 17 has come. It has gone. Wow, what an interesting round of footy. There's some things that we expected, there's some things we didn't expect. So let's jump right into it. We will start with the lady of the podcast. Brianna, your thoughts round 17 as a whole.
Oh, yeah, look, I mean, eyes were very fixed on, yeah, I guess the result of Sydney versus St Kilda. I honestly tell you, I could feel my heartbeat that whole game. Look, it was nice to see Melbourne get back on back on par with how they normally play. Obviously against West Coast. Brizzy and Crows was a nice tight game with Brizzy getting over the line, and then yeah, some other very, I guess, strong wins there from Geelong and Freo.
Definitely for sure. Chris, your thoughts on a crazy round 17.
Yeah, I mean, it's this time of the season where you've got some teams are going to have to be desperate and to really have to turn it on to start solidifying that position in the top eight. And you've got some fighting in the middle, and we know how tight it is in the whole ladder, with the exception of one team that we can talk about later. But this week was just a great example of that, where every team is basically just flipping on each other. Everyone's jostling for position. If you don't turn up on any one given day, you are going to get hammered. So we've seen it, and this was a great week for it. So it was actually a great week of football for a neutral fan. As a Swans fan, but we'll get there. We'll get to it.
I must agree, and I'll do this really really quickly. A huge shout out to a friend of the podcast, Marnie, who is a huge North Melbourne supporter, who I know is absolutely going nuts as North Melbourne got their win over the Gold Coast, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I had to say it gave me a little bit of a smile in a round that it was very interesting. It was very up and down when it came to it. The Friday and Saturday games were fantastic, just because it was like things, as soon as you thought you had it figured out, you didn't. And then Sunday came and they were tight, but maybe not the result that I wanted so much so for. So, but I will take my red hat Donnie off, throw on coach hat and hop on to Friday night footy. First game of the round sees the Essendon Bombers get a win over the Crows over the Collingwood Magpies by 12, 92-80, in a fantastic game that, I mean, it's kind of the reverse of what we've come to expect, where the Pies jump out to a nice little lead, kind of hold on to it, and then mid third quarter, the Bombers go, yeah, you know what? I don't like the way this looks, and can then just go on a roll. The Pies make their usual comeback to make things a little bit squeakier than they probably should have, but the Dons hold on and kind of tell the people that were questioning their abilities as a finals team to kind of go get buggered. So, Chris, your thoughts on an interesting game as the Dons pull out a win over the Pies?
I'm one of the guys that they've just told to shut up because I've been calling them out and going, you can't You can't be where the Bombers are and play like that. And I love. So I'm a big Swans fan. If anyone out there doesn't know, run my own podcast. Of course, I'm all about it. But I really enjoy listening to Bombers podcasts because, or a couple of them anyway, because of just the passion that they have in it. And
Mhm.
they live and die by it, but most of the time they end up dying because there's just so much going on. And I wouldn't say that it's negative necessarily, but they're quick to accept defeat in a lot of ways. Last week's game was exactly that. The podcasts are all like, that's it, chip up, we're done, we're finished here, let's go on. And then after this game, I'm really looking forward to hearing what everyone says because the Bombers played great. They played hard. They played contested and they controlled the ball when they had to. They saw the Pies' tactical changes in the game. The Pies were doubling up in the middle to get that contested air ball down the ground so that they could stream forward. Bombers worked that out. They started closing it up. They sharpened themselves up when going up forward, and then the game they just managed to turn the game. And I love to see it. It's so much fun. So it was a great game of football. It really, really was as a neutral. And yeah, the Bombers can tell me to shut up for this week. I'll see what happens next week. For now,
All
I'll shut
right.
up.
Love it. Love it. Barb BT, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, look, I mean, for most supporters out there, obviously Collingwood's not a well-loved team by, those middle grounders. But no, it was actually a great game. I didn't watch the whole game, but yeah, fantastic to see Essendon get over Collingwood there. Obviously, Collingwood kind of got the jump on them, and I mean, we've kind of seen this from another top team, starting a little bit slow, but then sort of making their way back into the game there at the end. And yeah, obviously just ran the legs out of Collingwood in that one. But yeah, no, that was an awesome one to wake up in the morning and see the final score.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Imagine mine because I have to keep away from social media because the game starts at like 4:40 in the morning. So I watch it on delay at work later on and I'm like, can't look at Twitter, can't look at X, can't look at Instagram. So I'm like trying not to. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic game. It kept me enthralled as much as it could. Again, the Bombers, they are kind of I'm still not 100% sure this is a top four deserving side,
No way.
but
But
I'm coming around after this one because again, the Pies still for me are not I'm not 100% sure on them because they keep getting injured and they keep having these games where they're not what they were last year. And I know it's a completely different season. I completely understand that. But this is not the Pies, and we'll discuss it later in our burning questions section. I think a little bit of the magic that they've had over the last two seasons is gone. I don't think they're going to be able to go into the reserves and do like they have been doing as
mm,
they did the previous two seasons. Personally, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing this fear that they strike into teams anymore. I just don't see it personally. But we can
yeah.
discuss that a little bit later. So we'll jump to it.
Marchek's also injured for it as well. So
Yeah,
that's him
unfortunately,
done.
torn pack done for the year,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So their injury woes
Shame
do
there.
just continue. We jump to Marvel Stadium as North Melbourne continue the pain for the Suns as they get a 4-point win, 87-83. And I must say, I feel a little bit accomplished on this one. I finally got a North Melbourne upset tip correct. I tipped this one. So I will do my lap of all I will do my lap of my victory lap on that one. No, I'm just kidding. I'm absolutely kidding. I'm loving this. Like even as a Swans fan, I'm a little bit terrified by this game against North because they're playing good footy. UD, yeah, Luke LDU is starting to play like everybody said LDU was going to play. You're seeing the ascension of Colby McKercher on the wing starting to play well. Harry Sheasel shows why he's one of the top guys in the league. Nick Larkey again, he's one of those consistently really good goal kickers for a team that doesn't always get it forward. And then you're getting unsung heroes, Aiden Core playing really well in the back line. So I'm loving this North team. They're so much fun to watch. And to see the Suns, who everybody propped up, they're going to make finals. Dimma's there. Dimma is going to do it. And to see Dimma lose his mind like a 5-year-old that's got its toy taken away is hilarious to me. So I got to say this. This is awesome. I know that for many people, they want the Suns to make finals. I think it would be fantastic. But to see Dimma literally crack the shits this weekend was hilarious to me. And the fact that he still hasn't won at Marvel Stadium since he was at Richmond and uttered he hated going there. It is hilarious to me. I'm done talking. Brianna, your thoughts on North Melbourne getting a big win over the Suns?
Oh, it was, I reckon you could almost put it down as the game of the round because it was just like, I don't know, obviously Gold Coast have gone into the game not being able to win away from home. Obviously, they are playing some amazing footy. In saying that, like, obviously, Dimmer's done something good up there, but I don't know how you just like, everyone wants to see him play finals, but how obviously where they're sitting, I think they're sitting just outside the eight. So at this
Mhm,
stage, they're not playing any home games in finals. So what do you expect? They go into the top eight and just lose straight away because they can't win, at in
mhm,
Sydney or in Melbourne or wherever they're going to have to travel for. So, yeah, obviously there's questions being asked left, right, and centre to Gold Coast. Obviously, North had a cracker of a game as well. It's actually fantastic to see some of those teams like West Coast, North, even like Hawthorn. Those teams have kind of been sitting on the bottom three on the ladder. Actually, play some really good footy. Maybe it's not always shown, on the positive side of the scoreboard at the end of the day, but they're
mhm,
just playing some really good footy, which gives you lots of promise. And they're three really young sides. And yeah, obviously they've been, I don't know, with North, I see it that, you've got those gun midfielders who just haven't learnt to work together yet because they're so young and inexperienced and they just want to kick straight to Larky and, those good teams just lock him out of the game. And so who else do they kick to? And they're kind of finding those other options to kick to now and,
mhm,
moving the ball really well and limiting the opposition's, I guess, ability to move it cleanly. So yeah, it was actually a really great game to watch.
mhm. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think teams should be a bit worried about North. I think for all the reasons both of you said, they've got good players. Let's be fair, they've got a coach who can do it, whether we believe that he wanted to or not. Bring a team from the ground up was a different story. But they're starting to believe, and that's a really dangerous thing for the rest of the competition
Mhm,
because they are naturally talented and they do have that shin boner style. They do grind, they go hard, they celebrate hard together when something goes well. So they're playing like a team that's played together for a while, and they're still quite young. So I'm really worried about them. But on the Sun side, efficiency kills them, and Dimmer. I look. You got to say this about Dimmer. He's trying to get something out of the team or out of
mhm,
the club anyway in this instance. He's basically telling them your standards aren't good enough. And he's
mhm.
telling from the top down, the standards aren't good enough. And he was fired up about it. And we all agree. Everyone in AFL has all been sitting there going, when is it happening? When is it happening? It's not happening yet. So I'm all about it. I'm cool with it. And I'm glad he did it because I think we all want to see, or at least us East Coast fans here in Sydney, anyway, and outside of Victoria, want to see them do something good with all of the talent that they've got in their roster. So let's see where they end up. So, yep, good on North. And I think it's just the thing, it's going to start coming. I think they're so far ahead of some of the others there, even the Crows. They're ahead of Richmond by far. They're ahead of the Eagles. I'd say they're ahead of St Kilda. So I just think they're in a better place.
I said from the beginning, I didn't see him making finals. I said that from the beginning. I know a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon as soon as Dimma was hired that they got a chance to make finals with all that talent, Dimma. I said, it's going to take at least 2 years for them to kind of get his system down, what he wants to do, for him to adjust to them as well. So this is kind of the growing pains I expected. Was I expecting it to the degree that it is with, I mean, them not being able to win a darn game on the road and being absolutely electric at home? Absolutely not. But it's been very interesting to watch this experiment again. Next year and the year after are going to be the years that I'm going to be very paying much attention to this Gold Coast Suns team because with the Ford that they brought in this last year in the draft again, how much drama you want to bring into that, I'm not going to go there, especially as Swans fans, because I think we've all had that argument with somebody online when it comes to the academy. Um, it's coming. It's coming. The days of Gold Coast making finals are very soon. I have a feeling if things go the way they're going. So great game for North. Again, happy that they're off the bottom of the ladder. I know Joey Montana on one of those things made the fantastic call of saying North won't see the bottom of the ladder for a while. We'll have to see how good that particular call goes.
I
With
like that.
Richmond and West Coast being the way they are, it won't shock me if he's completely right, but we'll have to see. Okay, we'll jump to the next one, which again, this one of the teams in this game again continue to frustrate the living crap out of me, and that is the Western Bulldogs as they go over to Port Adelaide and decide to use doggy vernacular, lay down and play dead. As they fall to the Port Adelaide Power by 48, 102-54. I'm really annoyed at this doggies team because they are too talented. They are too good to suck this bad at times. Like legitimately so frustrating. I mean, Port's a good side, but Port is not a 48-point better side than the Western Bulldogs when they play their best. And obviously, the way this round went, they didn't. Chris, please take over before I start ranting because this doggies team annoys the crap out of me at times.
Look, I appreciate why you feel that way, and I don't disagree. I think they have some excuses. They've been rattled by injuries, on and off by some very key players. Now, they in their style, I'd go so far as to suggest that they're a little bit like demons-ish, where you need strong games from some core people in some core positions to
Mhm.
really make sure they win those games. Norton, your Waitmans, of course, Bontempelli, arguably the best player in the league at any one given day. So they need those pieces, but they got injuries. I think the outs were Waitman, Oscar Baker, and Liam Jones for this week. Like that's there's pieces the wheels are kind of falling off. I think Norton came off, so like there's things happening. So I appreciate it and I agree with you, and nothing taken away from Port because Port needed to win.
Mhm.
Seriously, come on, Port. Like you've also got talent. You've also got pieces of the puzzle. You're at home. By the way, Adelaide Oval looks awful in daylight, so let's not do that anymore. It's much better in the night. Um, so yeah, I'm with you, but I think the doggies just kind of had to roll over this week and just set up themselves for another crack at another year. But like if they're fighting for finals and Bontempelli is going to keep walking his way towards a high position in the Brownlow ladder, I think that's what the doggy fans need to be excited for.
Yeah, I can understand it. BT, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, definitely, to be honest, both of these teams have frustrated their fans and the wider AFL community this whole year. Just the lack of consistency from both of them. Like, I guess what was good to see from both teams. Obviously, Connor Rosie had a pretty good game. I think he finally lifted as captain over the past few weeks, whereas he had a bit of a quiet start to the year. Zach Butters is Zach Butters, JHF has kind of been carrying with Zach through that midfield, and Rosie's just kind of been maybe tagged, just hasn't been playing to, I guess, maybe leadership standards. Um, what I did love from the Bulldogs was throwing Rory Lobb a lifeline and putting him down in the back line. Not really anything he's done in his life. I mean, I used to go and watch him play at the Giants back, I don't know how long ago, purely because that was the closest stadium I could get to. But it seemed to work well for him, like just having another tall target that, wants to intercept mark or at least get it out in the full was probably one of the positives other than the Bont there for the Dogs. But yeah, I know Rory himself sort of said it was a good opportunity for him to try and stay on in the best 22 aside or whatever it is by running through that back line. And I think he's given himself at least another chance this week.
Yeah, Liam Jones going down really helped that out. Now, it's good to see him getting an offer because again, anybody that's listened to the podcast, I've said numerous times. I think when he went to the Western Bulldogs, I told Fremantle fans, I said that's an addition by subtraction because he is so mercurial up forward. He's either really good or really bad. And there's no in between, unfortunately, for Rory Lobb. So maybe seeing him find some consistency in his footy in the back line might actually be good for his career going forward. Whether he stays with the doggies or not is also the $1 million question. We'll have to see if he can revamp his career as a backliner and kind of become that fullback to kind of let Liam Jones be free. I think that would be really good for the doggies and would relieve the one issue of how do you handle a super tall forward line that can maybe put no pressure on because they've got so many talls. So it'll be interesting to see how Bevo handles that particular situation there, or whether we see Lob in a Dougie's jersey going forward. So we jumped to a result that I have to say shocked me a bit. I was not expecting the margin. I did expect the winner to be who they were, but the margin is what threw me off, and that's the Cats beating their proverbial rivals Hawthorn by 51, 110-59. I'm not going to go so far as the Cats are back again. I think the Hawks had a bad night at the wrong time against the wrong team, but this kind of showed the Cats of 2022, which will send shivers down all three of our spines
At the same,
for
yeah.
at the same time. It seems like, again, the Cats looking good despite not having Tommy Hawkins up there, that quick forward line causing the Hawks all sorts of issues on this one. Brianna, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on this one, because Cat's just so good in this game.
Yeah, look, agree. I think Hawks have just been on such a good run for the past few weeks. They've just been exciting. People have gone as far to think they'll be flag contenders. Whether that happens or not, don't know. But yeah, look, it was, Jeremy Cameron's found some form and has kind of maybe pick up the slack of being the only tall forward down there. Obviously, Ollie Henry's kind of not playing to his standards. Yeah, obviously good to, I don't know, like there's, what do we have? Gary Rowan kind of finding a little bit of form there too. I know he's been sub the past few weeks. So yeah, I guess I'm going to say Jeremy Cameron carried the team, but even Tom Stewart, racked up 26 disposals. So good to see him kind of get off the leash a little bit after being tagged all these weeks. So yeah.
Chris, your thoughts?
I feel the Hawks were decent in the middle. I think they were really good. They absolutely hammered them in hitouts. Like they had the touch of the ball, but where they just could not go was no Sicily, no backline, no general, no coordination, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the backline just was just being pulled forward, like further up the line more often than not. Balls just landing up behind them, and then it became a foot race. And it just so happened that the Cats were running a quick forward line with
Mm-hmm.
Stiegel, Gary Rowan, and Cameron plays all over the shop anyway. So it was just a bit of a tactical masterpiece and just bad fitting with Sicily out. And they had, oh geez, what is the number? They had, yeah, was that 30 shots at goal, 16-14, like that. It should have been a bigger blowout than it was, to be
Mm-hmm.
fair. I think the Hawks are, the Hawks are lucky that it didn't end up being a 100-point win. So yeah, I think it's just one team had to go hot and tactically brilliant, and the other team had to be really unlucky and just not make it happen. It
Yeah.
took two teams for this situation to happen. I was hoping both teams would turn up and it'd be a proper fight, but without Sicily there, it was pretty clear cut that they just really struggle in that back line.
Yeah, no, 100% with you. And the fact that they moved Tommy Stewart into the midfield gave him a little bit of a bigger horse, because that's been the Cats' biggest issue this year has been is that their midfield is their weak point. Their forwards are great. Their defenders are really good. Their midfield is where things break down. I think it's the reason why they've been giving up bigger scores than they normally do, and why they've had some issues, because their midfielders are young, they're inexperienced, or they don't have that AFL standard play that they have consistently. So I think that's really been hurting the Cats a lot. So 100% with you on your analysis on that, Chris. We got to go to it. The other side of Sydney, for some people might boo, but I had to say this was the game of the round for Saturday, just because of the way this round went, as the GWS Giants knock off the Carlton Blues by 12, 116-104, in an absolute slugfest between these two teams, back and forth the entire game. It was fantastic to watch. and as somebody that I do kind of in the back of my when they don't play each other, I do kind of have a soft spot for this Giants team. They're fun to watch. They're entertaining as all get out. So it was fun for me. If it was fun for me to see them knock off the perennial Victorian favorite, especially after the week before with Sydney losing to Fremantle and seeing so many Victorian media start going, Carlton's the best team, Carlton's the best team, Carlton's the best team. I absolutely laughed my skull off as I saw the Giants knock off Carlton because I want to go, okay, what are they going to say now? It's quite interesting. Chris, to you, sir, Giants big win by 12 over the Blues.
Giants just decided to not rock up in the third. Like they just came out. They came out at halftime and they're just like, "Cool, should we play football?" And when as they were kind of tying up their laces and putting their mouth guard in, the Giants are just running circles around them. Like that's what it looked like to me. It looked like the, the Blues were just like coming crashing hard out of some panini or something that they ate at halftime, and there was just no energy there. It looked sluggish. Like the Giants were just like walking through the middle. Like it was weird. It was that really that kind of made the major difference. Blues really eventually turned it on, found their form, and then just ended up being the team they are. But and it got the game closer to what it actually is. It should have been, I think. And the Giants had multiple times to like really shut it down pretty easily. But anyway, it was a great game by the Giants, and I'm happy for them because they did us a favor as Swans fans. Let's be fair. But a quick one, I just have to say, Jack Buckley, defender. Sam Taylor's
Mhm.
out. Let's not talk about that injury. It's very painful for us and to talk about.
Yeah, no thanks.
Let's no, let's not include the visuals to that one. No need for it. I just did. Sorry about that. But Jack Barkley is a gun. He looks so natural, so fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing him more. So let's see whether this was a 1 weeker or just a special occasion or the matchup worked for him. I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to seeing him play a bit more. So on the quiet, I think the Giants have just found themselves with another wonderful, beautiful backman.
Yep. And once you get Sam Taylor back, that could be a scary combination. And they still have Lika Lear, who I think has really shown some flashes of some great brilliance. That if you can get him consistently, that's a back line of the future. Which is scary to say on the other side of the Sydney Derby, but that's an impressive backline if they can get those three working well on that one, which must warm the cockles of our other co-host's heart as the defender that she is. So, B, your thoughts on this one?
No, well, I don't like the Giants. Just full stop. um,
You're not
no,
allowed to.
that's
That's fair.
But
That's fair.
as a member of the defenders guild, I mean, you gotta like it when defenders get the shot out here.
I'll always accept, and I will always have that warm feeling in my stomach when some like great defensive act happens. That's just who I am. I'm just a definite defender. So that's just me. But yeah, sometimes it's funny what happens when a team loses like that best player who steps in and just kind of like were they being held back, or like did they just not feel confident to go over, like to tread on that person's toes, which I don't think Sam Taylor's that person, but Sam Taylor's just so dominant that do you just not see Jack Buckley, and maybe Jack Buckley's just meant for that key lockdown role, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of funny what happens when that like key figure of your line group just kind of isn't there at who steps up. And I guess it's good to also see that well, actually not good, but good for them to see that they have depth in that. Like it's so hard. Like what I guess a lot of teams harp on about, your depth is where you win or lose, your season, I guess, or your games. Like who can come in and fill that role equally as well. So it's good to see that, without Sam Taylor, that the likes of, Lika Lee has actually been playing really well this season. And yeah, Jack Buckley as well had a great game on the weekend. Yeah, obviously, was it Kerno was kept to one.
Mhm.
Obviously Harry Mackay had five. But and honestly, I'm sorry, but Cripper is a specimen. How does he play this good all the time? No, like he just needs better midfielders around him. Honestly, this man deserves a premiership because he's just the heart and soul of that Carlton Footy Club. He literally, if anyone in that club would say this is what, bound by blue is, they look at Cripper because he just carries that team every single day. Like, and obviously it's good now that they're, seeing the back end of the season really well and sitting quite comfortably in second
Mhm.
on the ladder. So it's good that he's kind of stuck around and been loyal to the club. But oh my god, someone help this man out and give him some more support in the midfield, at least some consistency, anyways.
Well, if you can get Walsh and Crippa both fully healthy, which I think for the first time in a long time they both are, you see the fruits of their labors. It also helps when Farmer Swan Georgie Hewitt is with them again. He started to kind of he looks like he's almost in the outs a little bit with Kennedy and Chera coming in, and he's been kind of the sub or not played. But you just need those grunt guys to kind of let to be that defensive, a little bit like what Rowbottom does for Sydney is you need that guy that's just he's going to be defensively sound. He's going to do the little things, so then your superstars can go be the superstars. Which I think if you can find that, it's a scary combination. And the fact that you're starting to see the DeConning brother for Carlton start to kind of really come into his own in the ruck. Pitnet comes in this game and kind of evens it out. When you face a big bruiser like Kieran Briggs, you need a little more girth when it comes to your ruck. So I appreciate that the Carlton did that because it's far too easy to just go DeConning's playing great because he's going to step up against a Briggs that's just going to smash him all day long, and it's going to take away from what Sam DeConning can do with his athleticism at his size. So 100% with you. Okay, I'm going to do this only because I don't want to waste a ton of time. The next two games are both basically carbon copies of each other. Good team versus bad team, plain and simply. Fremantle smashes the Richmond Tigers at home at Optus Stadium 105-54, and the Melbourne Demons find some offense as they also smash the West Coast Eagles by 54, 112-58. I'm going to congeal these two team games together because they are basically carbon copies. Fremantle, Melbourne, very good, put up points. They do what they're supposed to do as the teams that they are. And Richmond, West Coast, I would rather say tough season. Let's get ready for next year, which we can also then go to as West Coast. Then, less than 3 days later, decide Adam Simpson, thank you. Please go bye bye for us.
Yep.
So, BT will
See you in
start with you.
Tasmania, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Brianna, we'll start with you with, like I said, we'll do both these games at the same time because I don't want to waste a lot of analysis because literally we could just hit repeat for the second one. On both of these, I mean, Fremantle, Melbourne, just too good.
Yeah, look, I obviously coming from Melbourne still have a soft spot for them. Sorry. Yeah, they seem to play pretty well going over West. So look, it was good to see them just play some consistent footy. Obviously, you could say they played a 4-quarter game there. So yeah, obviously they just kind of kept the Eagles, who are just a little bit woeward at the moment, kind of down. It's actually fantastic to see Cozzy Pickett, what a 5-year player, being one of their I guess stars at the moment, especially without Track or Petrarca on the field. And Freo have just had a great 2 weeks or 2+ weeks, haven't they? Like, it's just impressive to see what they're doing. Obviously, giving their fans some hope. And then look, I don't really know what's happened with Richmond. They're just, I don't know. You don't want to say season done, but it's just been a tough season for the Tigers.
Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, Frio versus Tigers. I'm happy to let that sit. It happened. Team that won, and the players that needed to play played. Going straight to the D's, I just think with the D's, one of the things, the problem with them is that they always rely too much on their big call. So to have these games like against the Eagles, where you've got kids like Trent Rivers, Caleb Windsor, kind of playing a bit better, bringing Sal into the game, McVee, Tom McDonald looking a bit sharper. Like that's what you need out of a game like this. It's just like, okay, look, Your big fellas, just ease it up, and then you want the second ring to just kind of just pick it up and just like it's your job to really drive through this. And I kind of feel that they did a fair bit. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I take that from the D's. It's good to see for him. I mean, not really. I don't want to see him necessarily do well, but good on him because the team is getting better. Yeah.
My only worry with the D's is I think they lost Max Gone for a couple of weeks, which I think
Yes.
is devastating for them because Petrarca is already a hole. Clayton Oliver kind of starting to find himself a little bit again. I'm not a huge Clayton Oliver fan when it comes to it. I think he's an accumulator more than he is an impactor. I think Petrarca was the impactor for the D's. And now you lose your ruck. And there's part of me that kind of chuckles and goes, "Hey D's, who are you missing this year?"
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Like,
But I
to put
can't
Van
really
Ruin
be,
as a-
yeah.
who do
I
they
just
put in Van Ruin as a key rock?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know
Petty,
they've
who's
got
because
Shacky. They've got
plays
Shacky.
everywhere
Shacky.
anyway. They just throw him in the middle next. So
Well, Shacky can come in, but Shacky he's not.
not playing great.
Yeah. Yeah, not exactly on fire right now. So it's the D's. I think unfortunately this will be a tough test this week, no matter who they play, because again, when your talisman of Max Gone goes down, it really does throw this team off. We saw it last year when his knee issue that the D's they played good footy, but they didn't play great footy. They do take a hit a little bit on it. So we'll do it. We'll go through it. I don't want to, neither do my co-host, but we will do it as the St. Kilda Saints get a win over at Marvel Stadium over the Swans 84-82. And I don't like the narrative that I did see a little bit online is that Sydney only played one good quarter and that was the second quarter. I I'm not going to say that. I don't want to take away from St. Kilda because I think St. Kilda literally they played the best possible game they possibly could at the worst possible time as a Swans supporter. They were hitting their targets. They were kicking straight, which they haven't been able to do at times this season. And Sydney, unfortunately, they have to put onus on themselves. They didn't kick worth a darn in the second half. Let's just be honest. They were, I think it was 3-11 in the second half. I mean, the old adage, bad kicking is bad footy. So, Chris, we'll start with you on this one. I know it's frustrating. We'll also discuss the tribunal issue that I think all of us we discussed a little bit pre-podcast a little bit. We'll discuss that just at the end of this. But I mean, Saints, they get the win, but the Swans have to be kicking themselves because 4 points were there.
look, quick plug. The Bevy is doing Swans games from the Alex in Alexandria in Sydney. So we've been running. This week was our first go. We ran a live podcast from the venue amongst the Rainbow Swans, which is the LGBTQIA
Awesome.
plus crew, the community, the official supporters group. It was fantastic. The podcast is out there. The audio is bad, but it was our first time, so please be gentle. Um,
I still have to listen
Nonetheless,
to that. Thanks for reminding me.
no worries. Remind everyone. So that was really fun. What wasn't fun is watching the game in that second half. We're just being as frustrated as we were. So first first uh, first quarter, look, I think we evened it up from memory. So I think it was 14-14 or something like that. So anyway, it happened, and then the second quarter we came out, we went firing, and then after that, it's just a very frustrating affair because we have the team, we have the players. The Saints were going. The Saints were putting on pressure. They were working super hard, and it didn't seem like the Swans necessarily were. We just weren't going with them. It felt like, and although we got the shot to go, like you mentioned there, we weren't kicking straight, and that would have like really, covered over the plaster. But I think just there's just something to be said. If you go after our three in the middle, and if you, in particular, with Grundy, because Grundy had a good job done against him, that's how you're going to win. And Frio proved it, and now Saints have proven it, and I think that's the play. So, but where I will pump the brakes a little bit. Saints played really well, but I will pump the brakes. You need at some point in the season, coming into the final season, to have a bit of a lull, to have a bit of a reset, to go through that. So I'm not concerned about the season for the Swans. It's just a bit frustrating. That's all. So I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. That's what I'm saying. So over to you, BT.
Thanks.
I was the exact same way, to be honest with you. Like I literally I told my wife was upset. She asked me how'd they do because she was asleep because the game started at like 1:20 in the morning. She's like, how'd they do? I said they lost. She goes, oh, I'm sorry. And I go, don't worry. I said they gotta have a lull. I said it's gonna happen. I said the biggest thing is Horse is gonna probably throw a few chairs, scream at these guys, tell them to pull their heads in, and I think motivation will come. I don't mind this. The lull at this particular time period is great
Yep.
because I know there was starting to become just before the Fremantle game, there was starting to become the argument of did they peak too early? Did they peak too early? So seeing this lull is kind of perfect because we know they haven't peaked yet. And we've already seen the announcement already. Cal Mills is back this week. Have to love
Captain
it,
Cal.
which will go to this. That probably sends a little bit boost. Brianna, your thoughts on this one again? Tough one, but again, it's good. I think it's good for the club. I think it's good for the boys as a whole because motivation is now there.
Yeah, look, I can't say too much about the gameplay and stuff like that. But yeah, look, I was pacing back and forth my house, like literally hard pounding Logan McDonald catching. I was like, yes, redeem yourself. And then
Yeah.
unfortunately it didn't go as planned. But it was great to see him not try and pass it off.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say like that is where you let the demons in and you're never gonna do it again. So it's good that he kind of fought past it. Yes, no, it didn't go as planned, but great to say it didn't affect him. Yeah, look, I just think like the Swans play really good footy when they work up the guts. They're running. You know, maybe when Chad Warner's not trying to do everything and stuff like that. Like, there were just maybe a few too many times we were kicking long down the line, and I was screaming, "Don't kick it long!" and they'd kick it
Hmm.
long. So look, maybe our team's starting to work out this one's gameplay. Maybe, yeah. Look, I can tell you, there's no real, sirens, red flags going on at the club at the moment, other than any red flags that have the Swans logo on it. But yeah, it happens. And the D's went through it in 2021 and went on to win the flag. Like they were soaring at the start of that season and had a lull, and then we just confidently went through to the grand final and won. So it happens. The best teams go through it. It's part of sport. It's a part of the mental game. It's a part of teams wanting to beat you because of
Near the
the
top of the
feeling and
ladder.
just that underdog status versus you being the one to beat. So it's got to happen. It's happened. The boys are obviously assessing it and moving on to the next game. So, it's in the past now. So the boys move on. And yeah, like I think St Kilda defended really well. They had like elite pressure the whole game. So, they did their homework. And yeah, you had some of their young guns just playing really good footy, which is great signs for St Kilda in the future.
100% with you. Matthias Philippou, who was some controversy because there was the story come out that he said that he wanted to play VFL instead of AFL, and people were literally losing their minds over it. But in the long run, that's looking like a great decision because that young man came out and he played a fantastic game. So many Saints played well. Rowan Marshall is probably one of the other really good rucks who I think could
Yep.
potentially be in the argument for all Australian. So this didn't shock me that Brody Grundy did not have a cakewalk day. I thought those two had an absolute battle. It did get a little annoying that so many free kicks were being called where I literally looked and I went, what? Because of the fact that it seemed like they were both giving each other a giant bear hug.
Oh,
And it
23.
seemed like it almost felt like the referee just flipped the coin and went, okay, heads. Rowan Marshall, free kick. Two things later, almost the exact same thing. Flip. Brody Grundy, your free kick. So it was a little annoying. But again, the Saints, they were good. I mean, Sinclair is absolutely magnificent. There's no argument on that one. And I think a little bit of also is King leaving made them a little less predictable. Liam Henry stepping up and having a fantastic
Yeah.
game. So I am going to give the Saints their plaudits just like I gave Frio their flowers the previous week. I'm not gonna. I cannot disrespect the Saints were the better team for the game. That's just the way it was. Sydney had their run, which they always seem to have one that 5, 6, 7 goals and but they just the second half let them down. They didn't kick straight. I think they'll figure it out. I'm 100% with you. Let's go to the controversy, and that is Isaac Heaney being cited a one match ban for the arm. Chris,
You know,
have your
yep.
fun with this one because the tribunal rejected their appeal, and stories are hitting out that they're going to the appeals board, which gives me the feel of Patrick Cripps a couple of years ago with the Brisbane Lions, where the tribunal held it. They go to the appeals board and they get it on a technicality. Can the Swans find a way to get Heaney back, or are they wasting their time going to the appeals board on this one?
Look, I think where we are in the season and with Millsy coming back and knowing what Adams has been playing well, he just probably needed a bit of a rest. Parker is always going to be available soon, if
He's
not already
available this week.
available
You
this week.
could see. I think if Heaney stays out, Parker comes in for Heaney. I think Mills comes in for Robbo or Campbell. So it's going to work out if Heaney is still out. If Heaney is still in, then it becomes a little more tricky. Do you give Adams a full day off, or do you chuck Parker in for say a Wicks, which you lose a little bit of speed, but you gain some experience?
Or maybe it's
I
the
think,
tactical sub.
yeah,
Yeah, true.
yeah, I think it's more of a tactical one.
Mhm.
You got to go for it. You have to appeal. Not only you have to appeal for the respect of Haney on being such a hot run and having a crack at the Brownlow. That's
Hmm.
why you need to appeal.
I
For
get it.
no other reason. That is the core of it. You have to. The man has been a steward of the team. He's a good character. He's a good bloke. He's working super hard. He's been up and down his career. He's found absolute form and on fire and being the best, arguably the best player statistically from the first few rounds. Like he's been amazing.
Hmm.
So you have to do it for him. And I think that's why we need to do it. On the actual event, it is bollocks. Like it is junk. There was no intention to it. It struck high. He played on the rest of the game. And one thing that we have learned from MRO this year is that it
Hmm.
purely comes down to what happens to the player. The player comes off, that other player is sitting off
Hmm.
time. We've seen it a few times, but in this instance, the guy had a bloody nose, went off, threw some denk rub or whatever you did on your nose. I'm pretty sure it's not denk rub. BT, please back me up. I don't know what's technically
Like
available here.
Vaseline.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Vaseline. Just don't get denk rub and Vaseline mixed up when you're throwing it up your nose. That's something.
Do not.
Do not do that. This is like straight from a pro, right? He's fine. So let's just let him play. It's done. It's finished. Like the game is it's done. Fine him for being, careless and unintentional and high or whatever else. Give him the $1,500 fine and move on with it. Because if they made it a circus, and I feel they made a circus on purpose, I genuinely do. Because Hogan punches a bloke in the jaw, nothing happens. There's nothing to talk about. Hogan's expected to
Hmm.
punch blokes in the face, apparently. Who
Hmm.
cares? But
Nope. I
you have to do it for him. You have to do it
Yep.
for him.
And then butter, and you also have the Butters incident as well, where the same
Yeah,
thing, and he
blokes are punching
legitimately
everyone in the head, in the chest.
and
Pendlebury just
legitimate,
turns
yeah,
around, clocks the guy straight in the stomach.
yep,
Nothing happens. It's
yep,
just like, oh, he's a good bloke though. He's like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah.
So is Heaney,
The MRO this year has been as bad as been as about as consistent.
as you'd expect.
Basically,
None.
there is no consistency. Like I get the gripes of many fans that there is no consistency with the MRO because like, and I think it started off right at the start of the year with the Hewitt and Lockie Neal punch to the gut. That
Yes.
literally started the season. And my favorite part is Laura Kane comes on the couch and I watch this and I love what Gaza does to her. He kind of eviscerates her because he literally says he's like how does that make any sense? Like she's like because it's the play isn't there because it's off the and I'm just because it's around the ball that's I'm like you're basically telling me it's okay to chuck a bloke in the guts as long as he's close to the footy. Are you shitting
Brianna,
me right now?
that's
Like
for you.
it's just I
That
was just like, come on, Laura Kane. I respect you. I respect you for what you've done, but you literally have started with the biggest face plant I have ever seen in my life, and it hasn't gotten any better. I mean, we all remember Collingwood North Melbourne and the explanation that literally everybody screamed at Laura, shut up, stop lying to us. You're trying to make an excuse to be okay with the result because you know your umpires buggered this up,
Well, the
plain and
umpires is
simply.
one thing, but then after the fact, then say, "Oh no, it's still okay." It was like we have the ability of hindsight. It's okay to say like, "Oh yeah, we're going to get better for that."
Take
What the AFL
responsibility
does
like
is
a
when they
player
do
does.
that, they say we're gonna throw this entire league upside down, change the concept of a tackle like overnight, and good luck to everyone. See you later. Just throwing dice out there. Every time that there's a tackle, I can literally throw dice onto the ground and just hope. Oh, if it's evens, it's a tackle. Otherwise, it's holding. There's
Hmm.
just no consistency with it. You're just taking guesses.
Agree.
And this is another example of that where we're just taking guesses or, oh, I don't know, a week. Why though? But why?
Mhm.
No one, literally no one in their right mind in AFL thinks it's deserving of a week. No one.
Mhm.
Find me one person. They're
Or
wrong, but no one.
almost every single one that I listened to said that he would get a week and then get off at the tribunal. So when the tribunal held it, it's thrown some people off. I'm interested. I haven't listened to the podcast today from like talk radio. Like I listened to the rush hours in Melbourne, Sydney, and Adelaide, and almost in Melbourne and Adelaide, both of them were saying the same thing. They're like, yes, he got cited a week. He'll get off at the tribunal. So I'm interested to see their reaction to this, just because it did kind of shock some people that he didn't get off. And again, we won't go any further than that. So BT, your thoughts on this one? Because I know as you were saying, you're around Isaac Heaney at the club. He's not going to let it affect him. He's just going to go about his normal day. But it's a little bit of a gut punch that I think they thought they had
Oh, good
a
pun.
great case to get out to get Isaac Heaney off, and it just fell short.
Yeah, look, I mean, sorry, that's my dog. Um,
I was wondering what that was. I'm
I thought
like,
you were hungry. I thought you were
that's my
shredding
dog.
already.
That was not me. I'm well fed, actually. No. Sorry, putting my defender's cap on.
mhm,
You know, constantly one-on-one battles happen in the full 50, and yeah, they're quite physical. There's not, I'm not gonna say hands being thrown like literal punches, but I'm there against my opponent trying to like touch on, get body and sort of reference where they are, and they're constantly trying to get me off. And then also put like a little bit of a body check on to try and get some space.
mhm,
So I don't know. I looked at it and I thought that was exactly what Heaney was doing. Like I have my own teammates like Lexi Hamilton just trying to put a bit of body in my chest to try and just create separation to then lead forward at the ball. Unfortunately, yeah, the St Kilda player has slipped and it's copped him high. Probably, yeah, like give him a free kick for it, definitely. But my interpretation was that Heaney was purely just trying to create some separation because his opponent was doing a great job at 1v1 defending at the time. And he was just trying to get some separation and just kind of, yeah, maybe just a tad bit careless with the with the hand, but it was not by all means intentional to hurt. It was
mhm,
in he was purely just trying to you know get some separation and create a lead. And a lot of the time, that sort of stuff that happens in the game gets off legally completely. Look, I will say, I don't know, I heard around the, what was it? I think it just came up on an Instagram story of Chris Scott saying that the AFL is definitely the hardest game to umpire
mhm,
in the world. Like, there's no doubt about it. I umpired myself a few like years ago, but there's so many tiny little things. You're trying to watch a tiny little red dot in this ginormous oval, and while trying to keep an eye on what 32 players and make sure that they don't go wrong. Yes, now we're lucky to have the MRO and all these different cameras around, but it's such a difficult game to umpire. So, there's got to be the understanding that things are going to, not always be called correctly, but does need to be consistent.
mhm. No, 100%. I've said numerous times with everybody that knows I coach up here and I also umpire some of our kind of inter squad scrimmages. And umpiring is extremely difficult if you're by yourself, you're running, you may not have the conditioning that some of your players do, and you're not going to see everything. Like as I said, the camera angles are going to show angles that the umpires, if you look really closely, their angles, the umpire's not going to see what we see. We don't see the little cheeky throw out the side along the boundary line. Why? Because the umpire is 15 to 20 meters closer to the square. So he's not going to be able to see that. So if he sees the hand motion, he thinks it's a handball. So that's why some of the people that are like, the Western Bulldogs or some of these teams are constant throwers. Well, yeah, because
Seriously.
they're really good.
Not the
It's just not obvious. It's not the rugby. I mean, since you guys are both in New South Wales, I mean, it's not a state of origin throw obvious sometimes. So it is one of those where I look at it and go, again, I understand and completely agree with you, Chris. They're going to the appeals board because they're trying to get this guy, keep this guy eligible for the Brownlow medal. And you don't want to lose a young gun like this. Would a break maybe do him some good? I think yes, a little bit, just because he has been going so good for so long, and you don't want to mess with it. But if he does get off, I'm not as torn up about it because again, you've got Parker is now available now, and he's been training. Cal Mills, we've already heard is in. So I think the ability to make the changes is not bad. If he gets off, that's great. It gives you even more of a headache when it comes to selection wise, but it's a good headache to have. So we will drop this again. We'll have to wait for the appeals board. We're recording this Wednesday night for you guys, Wednesday early morning for me. We'll have to see how it goes. The game is Saturday afternoon, you guys time, Friday night for me. So we'll have to see, is Heaney going to play or not? We'll have to see. We'll jump to the last game of the round. And if you look at the score, you think this is a humdinger of a game, but really, Brisbane really kind of just owned this game for most of it. The Crows put a little bit of a scare. They kind of pushed Brisbane all the way, which I think surprised some people. But again, this Crows team, when they can play their best, are good. They're good. They just have not been consistent. So Brizzy get the win, 97-86, an 11-point win. This is a fascinating one for me again. Is Brizzy as great as some people are thinking now that they've won 5 in a row? We'll have to see. That's another thing we can discuss a little bit later. So, Brianna, your thoughts on this one? Is Brizzy get the win and keep the win streak alive?
Yeah, look, I think personally, I think Brisbane's side is just getting stronger. Like, I mean, welcome back, Will Ashcroft, 21 disposals and a goal
Mhm.
um, on the weekend. So, it's his second game back from doing an ACL injury. So, obviously, the cobwebs are well and truly off already. For him, Charlie Cameron, 2 goals, 3 behinds. I don't know, pretty stock standard for him. I'm actually loving seeing Dane Zorko play off halfback. I think that's a nice change for him
Mhm.
and just strengthens up that back line. Just helps out Hugh McCluggage and those guys there. Isaac Rankin fought hard, whether you want to say physically or just in the game. Take that how you will. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, like Adelaide has some great players. I think Ben Keys popped up for a game and kick four. He
Mhm.
definitely needs to be more consistent for this side. A lot of people talk about him just not having a consistent season. He starts well and then just kind of fades and will then pull out the good game here and there. But where's the consistency in Adelaide? Like where's the players that are really going to kind of pick up the act and follow along with like John Dawson, and start playing some elite footy consistently anyways. But no, I think Brisbane's looking pretty solid, looking pretty damaging too. Like they're just building a really really good side that I think is going to be pretty hard to contend against.
Mhm. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, a lot of really good things BT said there. I think um, you have to give a lot of love out to the probably the one of the most dangerous duos out there in Dunkley and Neil.
Mhm.
Like just crazy, like intense. Like is that, well,
Right.
I'm
The doggy.
assuming. I hope that was BT. So I'm insane.
She's gonna have
10
to mute. She's gonna have to
clearances.
mute her mic whenever she's not talking.
Yeah, well, you never know.
It's okay. It's okay. It happens.
I just want to go to bed.
I've had a cat walk. I've had a cat walk across and literally have its behind in the camera for about 5 minutes. So it's we are pet friendly, not an issue. Sorry, Chris.
No, not a problem, mate. Not a problem. Yeah, look, Neil is a monster, and I think he's such a key to the game when you shut him down. Like that's really you have to find a way. Was it 3 goals, 10 clearances, 500 meters gain? Like the guy's a beast. That's the monster.
Mhm.
So he is such a massive part of it. And over to Keys, I think he needs to look at Bailey Fritsch and look at that model of player.
Agree.
Like insane work rate and then settle down and then kick those goals. We know he can kick an incredible goal, except for that one last year. Adelaide, let's not talk about it. Whatever. But he can kick really good goals from pretty much anywhere. He's a very, very good player, but he just needs to look at someone like a Fritz and just try to model a game of that, just that work rate and that consistency, and do all the things that he does off the ground. Sorry, off the ball as well as with it. So I don't watch enough Adelaide games to probably suggest that he's not doing it, but I watched enough of them to just understand that there's just a little bit missing. There's that extra 20% that just is probably there, but it just needs to monitor them. So I'm kind of excited about seeing the next couple of years. So one quick shout out I have to give is to Bruce Reveal. Like he is a crowd favorite.
Mhm.
I mean, aside from his like biopic, that photo of it and their hair and everything, I can totally understand why the fans over there at Brisbane just adore him and just call out his name every time he gets close to the ball. Because I'd be doing the same thing, and I kind of am from home. So yeah, really he's just cool. Just a cool player, and he's one of those players who just seems to have a little bit more time than you think. But then he's also got the ability to just turn it on really quickly when he needs to. So he's
Mhm.
kind of explosive, but kind of settled. So he can play a bit of everything. So it'd be interesting to see um, yeah, as he goes on and how much more time he gets going and whether he can make himself like just an absolute solid member of that team because the crowd absolutely adores him. Man, I can understand why.
And the fact that he's was like working at Bunnings or something like that,
Mm.
he's had that underdog story that you just can't not fall in love with. So yeah, 100% with you. So that is it. That is all 9 games through. And I think it's kind of funny that the first I go right to my burning questions and we stay kind of on the topic of the great transition. Brisbane has now won 5 in a row. Are they back in the premiership contendership or are we still putting them back a little bit? Chris, your thoughts on this one?
I say that they're getting up there. I look at the teams above them. I look at Port Adelaide, the inconsistency that they are. I look at the Geelong Cats and just where they are in the term of their career. Like they've got some great younger players, and they will be absolutely good. They will bounce back really quickly, but are they quite there yet? I don't necessarily think so. That midfield, as we said, isn't there, and that's the engine room. You've got to be consistent. Bombers, we've spoken about the Bombers. I'm not convinced. And so it's really for me, Carlton and Freo and Sydney that are like consistent, and I'm pretty happy with the way they're sitting. I think the Lions have got it. I think the Lions are good. I think they are definitely a good team on paper. They're starting to figure out how to play together, um, and they knowing how to finish off games and how to be consistent throughout the game and how to utilize each one of their strengths really well. They've got their star power in the backs, in the mids, in the forwards, in the center. They've got a fair bit going on. They're bringing in players like Reveal to pull back and just bringing him in as that extra help in the game. So I I think they do generally have a good chance of making top six. But I would go so far as to lock them in for top eight for sure.
I'm 100% with you on that one. BT, your thoughts? Are they a flag contender now?
Yeah, I like to think they've probably done, what the Swans hopefully aren't doing. Just in reverse, had a bit of a doozy start of the um, season and then come good. But yeah, I just think, as I said, like, Will Ashcroft's back. He's, come back with an absolute bang. And then, yeah, obviously all the, just being able to play their players also in different positions as well. And it just working. Yeah, there's definitely fire in the belly from last year as well. I think that I reckon they're definitely in contention. And yeah, I see them playing finals and potentially going deep into it.
Yeah. I I think it's if for me they're right there. I agree with you, Chris. I think I'm not hesitant to put Fremantle in that spot. Collingwood still hasn't pushed themselves to the point where I think they can be where they are. So Carlton, Sydney, Fremantle, Brisbane, I think should be the top four. Whether that'll materialize will be the question for sure. I'm very interested to see how it goes. So, and then I will revert back to the team that I just talked about with my next question. That is the aura of the never out of it pies gone. BT, will start with you because I'm interested because some people are already talking about that the aura around Collingwood is gone.
Look, I think we're comparing them to what they were last year, which happens. That's what you do. I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, they lost to Essendon, another top eight side, if you want to see it that way. Um, I don't know. There's still like, what is this? 6 rounds to go. I don't think they're out of it, but like they're definitely not playing to the same level that they did last year, and that's obviously the comparison for them. So, Oregon, I'd say yes, but I do see them playing finals, but it won't be the same brand of footy that they played last year.
Mhm. So 7 rounds left.
There you go. I'm just
Chris.
thinking, I'm adding it up to where we are in preseason
Mhm.
as to how many, because we start the week after. That's how my
Mhm.
maths works at the moment. How many
Hey,
weeks after preseason?
any way you got to do it, Chris.
Yeah, like I think they are, and I think a part of it is there was always a lot of question marks around some of the older players that they did have. Um, where Pendlebury was, you've seen the injuries that they're going through. They're losing like their main big key forward in what they've got there. So how to fill that up, I don't know. Frampton goes back up forward again. They seem to rely on him quite a fair bit. As good as the Dacos guys are, and Crisp is as an absolute freak. Um, yeah, they've got great pieces, absolutely, and I think they're going to definitely make finals. I think you can almost lock them in as well in a position there. I'm very confident that they'll go through, but and once you get in, you never know what's going to happen, right? You really do not know what's going to happen, but can
Mhm.
they do it? And you look at the teams that they've beaten recently in the games they had. So the loss to the Bombers, the loss to the Suns, the loss to the Doggies on that absolute fine hot day. They did win against the D's when the D's were the absolute worst on that day. I remember
Mhm.
watching that, and they won by 1 point against North in the last five. This is the last 5 games,
Yep.
and not that order, and it's a random order that I decided to talk through.
You're fine.
So yeah, but I just don't. They're just not that team anymore. I think we just put a whole line through it. They're going to have to get a few players to come in and work out what's core of them and how to get them back up again. Because in the team that they have now, I don't think they have it. Cox is an example. As good as funny as a guy he is, and as hard working as he is when he needs to be out there, he's not the player to have for long term. So yes, there's just a lot of pieces missing. I think in that
Yeah,
position.
no, 100% with you. The missing pieces take the aura away a little bit, but I think when you win the premiership, everybody wants to beat you. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And I think previous seasons there was this like there was that scare of if we're up 28, we go to the fourth quarter, Collingwood still has a chance to come back. This season you've noticed it's not teams are not letting Collingwood get those runs. They're kind of ending it. So I think the aura's gone a little bit. I think that style of play, you can only maintain it for so long until you just don't have it anymore. And I'm getting to the point now, despite the injuries, I don't think they have that ability to do that anymore because teams have found a way to negate it. So it'll be interesting to see how the Pies go if they make the finals because again, the media is going to be talking about it. The Pies are never out of it until the final siren. Okay. So we'll definitely have to see how that goes on that one. And we will end since I have a couple of Swans fans. I always end with a question about it. I'm interested because I'm seeing a little bit of everything. I'm seeing from London is falling, this is over, we are a fraud watch, yada yada yada, to as Chris so eloquently said, we're good, little lull, we'll be fine. So The Swans fall for the second straight game is something to worry about, or is it just another bad day at the office? We'll start with you, Brianna.
Turn myself off mute. Yeah, I think it was sort of touched on, like, it's a positive lull. I want to say, like, the boys are walking around like there's nothing wrong, but it's not to say they're not thinking about it. Obviously, yeah, we've dropped 2 games. We start slow. That's all well out there in the media, and so they're totally aware of it. And Johnny Longmire is just so hyper aware of what's going on. He's got plan A to Z and beyond up his sleeve. Like, the guy's a genius. So yeah, I think it's a healthy lull. Hopefully it doesn't keep going. And yeah, hopefully it's, maybe just some sore bodies, and bringing in Cal, and whether that's resting a resting a body or something like that, then that's what it is. Like, I mean, it's great to have Callum Mills come back in now, technically fresh. Yeah, obviously he's come off an injury, but there's some fresh legs. Your skipper's back. Yeah, some more senior experience there to help in the midfield, especially with Errol and Chad, who, yeah, are still young, are still very young players. Like, I think they're even younger than I am, and I'm not even 23 yet. So, like, they're young players. So to bring in the experience of Millsy, this week, to add a bit of a calmer head potentially, and guide those players where they might need to, just when things do go a little bit pear-shaped, I think will be really beneficial. But um, yeah, I'd like, they've been such a powerhouse, so we know what they're capable of.
Yep.
So yeah, I just don't think they're out of it.
Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think all in all, it's a lull. It's fine. No need to panic. We're all okay. Everyone just calm down. Okay, just relax. Take a chill pill. It's all cool. But I will say this much on 2 points. On the positive, combined for 8 points, they've lost by. So five to
Mhm.
Richmond, one to Frio,
Mm,
and the
Two,
two to St
two.
Kilda, right?
Yep.
So yeah, nothing. All right. So it's very, very small margins of loss. Where I am concerned and where we should worry about is you've got the competition licking their lips with the belief that they're going to come out there. And you look at the Kangaroos this week coming off a win and then walking in there against the Premiership favourites right now and looking extra hungry. So there's blood in the water and it's a concern, but I really do not think this is a problem. I think this is just a good moment for us to reset as a club, as the players do, to get their bodies a little bit right. They may not have gone 100% in some certain aspects, and let's just see where it ends up. You're gonna have that dip and then rise up again. It happens to every team, every single year, with the exception, I think, the Pies had that just crazy run. It just happens. So I'm cool with it. I think we're going to come good.
Yep, I'm 100% with you guys on this one. I don't think it's anything to worry about. Now, if North Melbourne win this weekend, then maybe a little bit will set
Even
in. But
then, like,
yeah, maybe a little bit will set in. But I'm
yeah,
100% with you, Chris. Like, when they lose, they don't lose by much. I mean, their percentage is still astronomically high. Like, they still have a 2 game lead plus percentage, which is almost like another game in itself. So as the Swans, you kind of don't mind it because it doesn't let you paper over the cracks. Like, when you won some games late and you had some things go, if you can paper over the cracks a little bit because a win's a win, you're going to be happy about it. But when you lose a game, I mean, Longmire can literally look and go, "Hey guys, this," and guys go, "Okay, well, we need to address it. We've lost a game." So it's kind of, I think this is, and nobody ever likes saying it as a sports fan, a good loss. It's a good loss. It teaches us, hey, pull your heads in. Let's get ready to go. So there's still plenty of time to get yourself right. You can get on yourself and get a nice little roll going into finals, and then hit it full speed when it comes to September. Cannot wait. So that is it for the burning questions. We get to the podcast. I take over just the littlest bit and do my team of the week and power ranking. So this will be fun. So since I have a defender, we will start with the defense. which I actually do all the time, but I just thought I'd have some fun there. Starting at the fullback line, some fun names here. Mac Andrew of the Gold Coast Suns, Heath Chapman of the Fremantle Dockers, and a guy that I know will be a cuss word for some Swans fans, Cal Wilkie of the St. Kilda Saints. At the halfback line sees Harry Sheasel of the North Melbourne Roos, Gold Coast Sam Flanders, and Sydney's Ollie Florent. We'll get into the halfback line. In the midfield, on the wings, we see Cal Ward of the GWS Giants and Caleb Windsor of the Melbourne Demons. In the ruck, we see Sam DeConing of the Geelong Cats. In the guts, we see Jack Crisp of the Collingwood Magpies, Port Adelaide's Jason Horn-Francis, and Brisbane's Lachie Neale. And the forward line sees, at the half forward line sees Mitch Georgiadis of the Port Adelaide Power, Geelong's Jeremy Cameron, and Richmond's Shea Bolton. On the full forward line, we see GWS's Jesse Hogan, Melbourne's Jacob Van Rooyen, and Fremantle's Josh Tracy. On the bench, one of my favorite names to always butcher, Hawthorn's Chinkuth Jath as my defender. My ruck is Western Bulldogs Tim English. Midfield, Carlton's and Brianna's favorite, Patrick Cripps. And Geelong forward, Brad Close will round out the team of the week. Really quick, we'll start with Brianna on this one. Your thoughts on team of the week?
Sorry. Yeah, I
Mute
mean,
button.
it was she won't stop snorting. It's like, oh, just like, oh, she just wants to go to bed, and I'm not letting her do that yet. No, I mean, even spread. Yeah, I think I'm loving what Caleb Windsor is providing for such like a first year player. He's got so much speed, and the realization of his strengths as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old to be able to just harness that and just go with it. And yeah, it's doing wonders for him. Unsung hero is definitely Mac Andrew. He is such a good defender. I know obviously Gold Coast didn't get the win, but he is doing so much in that back line and just, yeah, like pretty much neutralizing any sort of target that comes down into their back line. He's just turning it over, working the ball up, and he got his first goal. So, um, yeah, obviously, I don't know. I think it's a nice even spread there, Donny.
Right. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. The one name I just want to put a bit of emphasis on, and one that maybe missed, but it's always with these things you miss one, but where you're going to put them.
Mm-hmm.
So Georgiades, I think, is just fantastic. I think for him, consistency again, also, and it's also doing things without the ball for him. So that's a good call, and he had a good game, and it just seemed to be, yeah, just really strong in his position. I don't know how else to say, but just really strong in his position. One that maybe is a bit unlucky would probably be because of the losing side, I guess, but Trelaw. Although I wouldn't necessarily say that he was better than Butters or maybe Rosie, but when I say, yeah, Trelaw is just a gun. He doesn't get as much accolades as he should. He's just phenomenal. Just across the league, just doesn't get the respect that he probably deserves. But yeah, where do you put him? I don't see a space for him either. So
Well,
interchange, mate. He's the first guy that goes in.
Well, in mind, one of those where it's like this was, as I told many people, it's like I put a little bit more emphasis on score involvements and goals just because I think that they impact the game a lot more than some. And this was a round where it was like, if I remember correctly, Lachie Neale has three, Crisp has three, Horn Francis has three, Crippa has two, but has like 40 or something odds. It was like, and Bontempelli was even up there. He had a goal in 25. So it's like the midfield sometimes can be very easy and also very difficult because I'm splitting hairs sometimes trying to decide because I can show you guys my notebook. Like I write the stats out. I look at different things. Like I said, I watch every single game, whether it's the highlights or that. So it's like it's not easy. And I appreciate when people, like I said, they give me feedback that it's like, hey, why didn't this person, this is the reason.
Where
It's
you got
when
to
I
fit him in.
it's when they
Yeah.
come on and they call me a flog or an idiot or all these. I'm like that's not an argument. That's just an
Yeah.
insult.
There's
Give
just
me a
there's just
reason.
some mental people out there, mate. No,
Well,
I think
So
Yeah, Trelaw was on. He normally hits the scoreboard. This week he doesn't.
yeah, he
I
didn't.
think there's
Yep.
a big chunk of it. But yeah, I think that's all. But yeah, otherwise, like it always comes down to that: who do you replace? And I
Yep.
can't imagine replacing anyone that feels right now. But just as a little bit of note, I think
Yeah,
he's just,
this was a fun week when I was doing it. It was like, holy crap, Patrick and Lockie Neal kicks three in the last game. It was like, okay, instant circle. You're already in the team. So, all right, well, jump to my homage to the fourth and long part of the podcast with power rankings. Again, as I say all the time, it is the last 5 rounds. So maybe a couple of names to throw a little people off, especially my two co-hosts, unfortunately, as you'll notice. At 5, the Essendon Bombers. At 4, the Port Adelaide Power. Number 3, the Geelong Cats. 2, Fremantle Dockers. And at 1, 5 in a row, Brisbane Lions. So I know Sydney's not on there, but 2 losses in a row, last 5 games. You can't really put them in the top 5. But this has been the hardest year for power rankings. Legitimately, I will tell you this because in the last 5, I mean, it looks like a Connect 4 game with all of the yellow with all of the wins and the losses with all of these teams because nobody's really except for Brisbane being 5-0, everybody has a loss in the last 4 games, but it's where the loss was is always the fun part. So power rankings, I mean, it's subjective, it's to each person. I look at it, it's very fascinating part of the job. So we'll get to it. We are going to try to get through it so then Brianna's puppy can get some beauty rest. So we go to the tips. This is fun. We still haven't gotten teams yet. That comes out tomorrow. That comes out tomorrow night for you guys, tomorrow morning for me. But we'll start off Friday night footy, an absolute belter at the MCG as the Collingwood Magpies host the Geelong Cats. Chris, we'll start with you. Who do you like in this one?
Cats. I don't. I genuinely don't know why. I'm trying to pick. I'm trying to pick between these two, and I'm thinking about the reasons why I would one or the other. Um, but I just think that forward line pretty much decimated. I think that they're going to have to score out of the middle a lot more, and I know that they can. Um, so I'm referring to the Pies, of course, and I know that Chris Dacos, who for all everyone's complaining about him being an uncontested player, the guy can contest pretty fine. He's doing all right. Look at the stats. Come on.
True, but I've also
Yeah, I think,
had somebody point out that a lot of his contested possessions are just ground balls because ground ball is considered a contested possession, not a
yeah, okay.
possession where it's one-on-one. But I agree with you. I think he doesn't get the plaudits as much as he does because he's like an eel. You just can't grab a hold of him. He just finds a way to slip away. You can't ever.
And then he touches the ball and does wild stuff with it. Just everyone just thinks
Exactly,
he's a good
exactly.
player. You're allowed to say he's a good player if you don't support the buyers. You're not going to
100%
all
agree.
of a sudden just come out with black and white hair tomorrow morning. It's okay, right?
Very true.
But
Yes, you do.
ultimately, yeah. Well, I'm getting grey, so don't worry
Yep.
about it. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Cats just because I really can't. I just feel that the Cats are just going to do a little bit more around the ball. I feel that they're going to know how to stifle it a bit more and play a little bit more with with the uncontested ball to stop the ball from rolling up and surging too much forward. So that's the reason why I'm going that way.
Okay. Brianna, your thoughts?
I think I'm going with the Cats too. I just think that Collingwood needs to stop purely relying on Nick Dacos to get the job done. He's carried them over to a few wins, but I think if Geelong can get their midfield working and up and going, and Paddy Dangerfield can start playing some textbook danger field footy, I think they'll have no issues there. But yeah, I think Jeremy Cameron's sort of back on track, and yeah, we'll see what Collingwood does about Tom Stewart.
100% agree with you guys on this one. I'm also going to Cats. I think Coach Scott is too good a tactician. I think this could be a fun one. Who's going to take Jeremy Cameron for Collingwood will be fascinating. Does Jeremy Howe get this nod? Do they send Brazzy Maynard at him? It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. This is going to be a fun matchup for me. I think this is going to be a classic one. I think the Cats have a little bit too much firepower. I think Brody Myachek's loss will be felt big time in this one. And I think that's where the difference is with you have Stengel, you have Close, you have Myers, you have Cameron. you've got enough offense to be able, if you get delivery, Geelong will be able to score. Collingwood, I'm not sure how this makeshift forward line is going to do with no Brody Majacek. So like the Cats in this one. A fun one down in Tassie at UTAS Stadium in Launceston as the Hawks host the Dockers in this one. Brianna, we'll start with you on this one. Hawks or the Dockers? Who do you like in this one?
I can't say Freo losing. I think that they're in just too good of a space, just playing some really beautiful footy right now. However, I would love to see Hawthorn play the way they have for the past few weeks and make this a very exciting game.
Okay. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Dockers, I don't think Sicily's going to be back in time. And I just, in looking how that back line looked, and I just don't see that being to be a sold without him in it. And I just think the Dockers are, as Bree said, just playing better. So I'm just going with the Dockers here.
See, for me, I'm gonna go against you guys. I'm gonna tip Hawthorn. I completely agree with you. That is the one thing that scares me is Sicily being out. But Fremantle leave the confines of the West, and sometimes they don't always play as well. You're playing a Hawthorn team that plays Tassie very well. And I think you've got the fun part will be the midfield battle. This is going to be interesting. Jai Newcomb, Warple, Day versus Sarong, Brayshaw, Jaeger O'Meara, and Fife. This is going to be a fantastic one. Can Lloyd Meek even this ruck tap out with either with Jackson and Darcy? I'm not sure if Darcy's back or not, so I rewind that one to just Jackson. But there's something about Hawthorne and Tassie that I like. I'm going to tip Hawthorne. I know I'm probably going off a major limb on this one, but there's something about Tassie with the Hawks that I like. So I'm going to tip the Hawks on this one, just to be a contrarian on this one. Jump to the game that I know all three of us will have our eyes squarely glued on, and that is Sydney v the North Melbourne Roos at the beloved SCG. And a nice afternoon game. We'll get the lovely sunshine. Hopefully, there isn't any chance for rain this weekend, is there in Sydney?
Probably Sydney's been pretty shitty lately, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll cross my fingers that hopefully it is bathed in sun for sure.
Like
So,
it was
Chris,
supposed to clear up.
Should
Chris,
hopefully, but it's
what
meant to the
she,
last 3 days because I
well, as,
spearfish and it's meant to be clearing
No,
up
it's
this
actually
whole.
supposed to be cloudy.
There
Uh,
you
okay.
go.
Well, at least
oh,
hopefully it's not rain. Hopefully it's not raining. So, all right, Chris, we'll start with you as Brianna continues to play weather girl. Sydney, North Melbourne.
Yeah, look. The Swans should get it. I think the Swans have had the scare. Losing the Freo, fine. The first game against Freo, they played really well. Was the eve of Cam McCarthy's death. Like it was pretty dire for them. They still played a great game. So I think the Dockers have had our measure against the Saints. The Saints came out and then played, and we kind of let it happen. And so I think for this week, I think Horse is going to rile them up. I think he's really going to get them going. Captain Callum Mills, our Ginger King, he's coming back in as well. So I'm all about
yes.
it. Um, I'm all about it. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be good. I think the Swans are going to get back up on.
All right, Brianna.
Yeah, no, I've got it on for the Swans. It's top of 17 degrees, cloudy on Saturday.
Thank
So,
you.
ready for
Humidity.
it?
Interesting.
Humidity, no, you know what? Apple Maps isn't giving me that right now. Oh, is it? No, it's not. 0 millimeters of precipitation, though.
Okay.
Anywho,
Very low.
yes,
Millimeter is like a really really small version of an inch, Donny. Just so you know.
I've done the transition. Trust me. I have fun with some of my friends over in Australia because during the middle of my winter, I have been known to screen grab our weather forecast from Google Weather and send it to them and be like, "Hey, how'd you like to live in this?" And it's like minus 10 Celsius. And they both the both of the facial
Can I
reaction,
say that?
both of you is hilarious. So yeah, so it's always
Yeah, but like,
it's always fun. So so I'm
yeah,
used to
well, I mean,
looking
like
I'm
at the
used to
moment,
that. No, yeah.
yeah. Well, apparently, 20 degrees in Australia is actually a lot colder than 20 degrees in America.
I've heard somebody
It's
say
like,
that before. I was listening to a podcast one time, and there was a Canadian that lived in Melbourne that said that it's cold, that it's colder there when it comes to cold, but it's probably because it's not as you're not as used to it, and it's a little bit of a different. Like I think it depends on where you live too. Like
I lived in Canada and I had never had to wear a puffer jacket indoors like I am right now. So
yeah,
the
It's just
houses are just
frosty. It's
shit.
frosty. Mm.
Mm.
yeah, it'll be it's very very interesting. But I've had a few like both your eyes as I said that -10. You're both like. So it's just
Yeah.
hilarious. All right, I'm fully with you. Swans in this one. I think they get the bounce back. I think this is like kind of the perfect time to catch North. If Georgie Wardlow comes back, it'll be interesting. I think if Heaney's out, Parker's in. If Heaney's still in, it'll be interesting to see if Horace brings Parker in for a small forward or not. That'll be the question. Mills, I think comes in for Robbo or Campbell. I think they want a little bit more experience on that. They'll sacrifice the youth a little bit to get the skipper in. So Sydney, I think a little too good. I think back at the SCG is kind of a perfect situation here. If this was in Melbourne, I'd be a little more concerned. The fact that it's the SCG, you're going to get a good crowd. They've been doing fantastic with the crowd there. So shout out to the Sydney fans for showing up and being very loud and very very proud is fantastic on that one. So Swans for me on that one. We jump to an interesting one as we transition over to the Western Bulldogs v the Carlton Blues, a fun one. Blues strong, but again, the Doggies are Jekyll and Hyde. I never know when they're going to have a great game. So we'll start with you, Chris. Doggies, Blues.
Um, I'm going Blues. I think Norton's out, right? Because I think he was concussed in the
Yep,
end.
yep.
Yep. So, yeah. So
Innocuous is all get out, but concussed.
yeah, it's really, and that was really concerning. Like if that little kind of bump, but it happens, right? You just don't know.
Hmm.
It's not the size of the bump; it's a whole lot of other factors. But
It's wear too.
Blues, the Blues are just a better team at the moment, and they can play consistent. They really let it slide away from them in that third quarter against the Giants, and so I don't necessarily going to do things like that. They're too good of a team. They can't be second ladder for a good damn reason. So no, I'm 100% taking the Blues here. I reckon they're going to come back strong.
Okay, Brianna, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think Blues as well. I just don't know who they're going to have planned to lock down both Kerno and Mackay. And then, yeah, like you're going to have Bont versus Cripper, which I think will be a great little battle out there in the midfield. But yeah, I just don't see who can control that forward line of Carlton's.
Yeah, I'm with you, but again, this Bulldogs team is one of those I never know when they're going to have a fantastic performance. Blues win it. Will not shock me if the doggies push him though. It'd be interesting. Does Liam Jones come back? Will be another question. No Jones. I think it gets ugly. Jones in. I think things could get interesting for it. Tipping Blues, Duggies. I think still in with a crack on that one. A fascinating one is two underperforming teams this season as the Adelaide Crows host the St. Kilda Saints at the Oval. We'll start with you, Brianna, on this one. Crows Saints.
I'd like to think that St Kilda can run off the unfortunate high that they're on. Um, I think they just are probably overdue for a bit of a winning streak. And yeah, I don't know, like I mean both teams are. They're both not playing consistent footy right now, but I just think that a good side can actually pick themselves up off a win rather than have the win get the better of them and then, have a shocking next week. So I'm going for St Kilda.
All right, Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Adelaide. I think at home, I think I actually think they generally have like a pretty okay team in a lot of ways, and I just think that they do have the ability to start going on a bit of a hot streak. I think I'm very much like Brianna here with both those teams, but I think the Crows are going to come across strong. Although they do manage to just annoy the living daylights out of their own home crowd, which just not with these games that they do have. But if is it a day game? No, it's a night game. So it's good. I might watch it
Yeah.
because it doesn't look so horrendous. But yeah, I'm going Crows.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna tip Crows in this one. I think sometimes a big win like that, you can have a drop off the next game. Crows play a lot better at home. My only concern with the Crows is Isaac Rankin. Isaac Rankin will not be playing. that takes a little bit of their pizzazz out of them a little bit. So I
Most
think
of the
it could be a
time.
little bit closer. Crows, I think a little bit too. Crows, I think just a little too good at home, but no ranking could bring the Saints in a little bit on that one. And at the same time, an absolute cracker at the MCG as the D's host the Dons. It'll be a fun one for this one. Chris, we'll start with you. Dons, D's. Who do you like?
I don't know, man. Why are they doing this to me? Like seriously, the Dons week in week out. Who knows who turns up? The same with the D's. Like, but in here, no Gorn. I think that's such a big cog. Um, I don't care how much of a meat axe Viney is. You just can't fill that up. So I'm going Dons here. But I'm just disappointed in both teams in many ways. But yeah, I'm going Dons.
All right, BT, you're on mute.
Yeah,
Just
thanks.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, God, it actually is like you don't know. I know Essendon are sitting in fourth and the D's are on 10th, but oh, Melbourne can play some great footy at home and on the G. Um, and I'm really interested to see what Simon Goodwin will do without Gorney. In terms of how he plays that, I think I'm very interested, and I think it could go very well considering they've been so reliant on Gorney. I'm hoping that their mindset will shift to, well, we just need to, be dynamic here and, maybe play a bit defensive at the stoppage or something like that. I don't know, but I think it'll be such an interesting one. But I think the Dons will be too strong.
Yeah, I'm also going to tip the D's. Max gone. I think is a huge loss. And if Draper can play up to his best, he could capitalize on a Shacky or a Van Ruin. So I think Don's a little bit too good on this one. Plus their midfield, Dylan Shield came back and looked fantastic. There's still Parrish to come back in. This Essendon midfield, they're finding the right pieces at the right time. I mean, Sam Durham comes off a midseason draft and is now probably one of the best midfield taggers in the competition right now, and it's insane. So Don's for me in this one. I'm with you too on that one. We will move to Sunday afternoon footy as the Gold Coast Suns at home versus Port Adelaide Power. Can the Power end the win streak at home? We'll start with you, Chris. Power, can they go on the road, or the Suns continue their undefeated streak at home?
Suns, it's too hot up there. The power's going to shut off. Like, no, I think between Demo telling everyone the standards have dropped and you got to get better, and you've got what is a contender coming up at home, and the crowd's been turning up in Gold Coast, and it's been really fun to see. So yeah, I'm gonna and in terms of what's on the field, I think both teams have good pieces on the field, but I think that the Suns are just a little bit sharper,
Okay.
um, a little bit more consistent. So yeah, I'm going for Suns.
All right. Brianna, your thoughts on this one?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think that, I don't see the Suns losing, just because of the way that they're going at home. Just as you said, Chris, like they're playing good stuff, and I think, oh, sorry, playing good footy, and I think Dimmer will put a rocket under him, and he's not accepting what happened on the weekend to repeat itself. So I think the Suns boys will get back on top and yeah, secure a victory. But I think Zach Butters and Connor Rosie and all that sort of those boys in that Port Adelaide midfield will give a very good fight, and I think it'll be close.
100% with you too. I got Gold Coast Suns at home. Plain and simply, they're at home. They don't lose at home, it seems like this year. And I'm interested to see how this whole thing goes with Port Adelaide. Because again, Kenny Hinkley, is he on the hot seat? Is he isn't? Is he? Yeah, it's their fans are confusing so many times for me. So Suns in this one. And the last two games of Sunday are Rip Snorters, GWS, Richmond at the MCG. Am I stretching too far for both of you that you're going with the crosstown rivals of the Giants over Richmond?
Sadly.
I I I am a Swans fan that grew up in Western Sydney before GWS was in. So there's a soft spot for me in GWS anyway, and I just they just get torn apart by many
I grew up in
different
Western
functions.
Sydney too, and there is no soft spot.
Yeah. No. I don't think it's much of as much as a cross-town rivalry as most give it. But yeah, absolutely. Like the Giants should just roll over them.
Yeah, they should. Again, this is a Richmond team. Again, they're mercurial as all heck. I'm with GWS, and then to an even more rip snorter, West Coast at home versus the Brisbane Lions. First game with caretaker coach, as Simo has told Don Pike. Yeah, I'm not gonna coach after you fired me.
Yep.
So, I'm Brisbane on this one. Brisbane may have a field day on this one. I know normally you get a bounce off the caretaker coach, but you need a better opponent than a red hot Brisbane Lions team that's starting to find form in this one. I like the Lions in this one.
Yep. The Eagles have officially put the stamp on it, like rebuild time. Why would they show up? Like,
Only about 4 years too late.
yeah, exactly. And about however many
Probably
losses.
should have started the rebuild after the disastrous hub result.
Yeah.
Probably should have been when they started it, but that's just me personally. So
It's
BT,
Lions by 80. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Lions. However, some teams have been capable of upsets after their coaches have been fired. I think Collingwood versus Sydney was one of those when what's his name? Nathan Buckley
Buckley
decided
got
he
relieved of
was
duties. Yep.
and they bloody won against this one. So not that I think the West Coast are going to win, but I think that they may ever so slightly show up.
Mm-hmm. I think they'll get the caretaker coach bounce a little bit. They'll play, but I just again, Red Hot Lions team that's playing really well. There's still just some deficiencies in this Eagles roster that's going to take at least another couple of seasons for them to mitigate. So that is it. That is all 9 games tipped. That is everything chatted with. And again, as per usual, you two are absolutely fantastic. I love chatting with you. I had so much fun doing the AFL Grand Final with you two. I had to get you two back on the podcast again. Chris, as always, fantastic work with the Bevy of Bloods. Just, I have to give you a shout out. I mean, you're pulling some really good interviews. Joel Armati and Hayden McLean have found their way onto the podcast. Well done.
Thank you. And Chloe Malloy. So we've been very lucky, and we'll soon get BT on, no doubt, and a couple others. And yeah, so yeah, the podcast has been doing really well. Really happy with the way it's going. With doing the live things on the away games, which is super fun at the Alex. So yeah, keep an eye on what we're doing. Follow us and all the random stuff that you do. But even what's happening behind the scenes here at the Bevy is all quite very exciting. We've got a new host in Jen for the AFLW, who's an ex VFLW player. The best and fairest of Sydney Uni is actually named after her. So it's all really exciting. So we're really pumped about getting her some more time on. And we've got another couple of peeps that are finding some more time more co-hosts to give us a hand as well. So the whole point of the Bevy is a collection of Swans fan. It is the Bevy. It's a collection of us. And most of the time they only hear myself or Noddy or Sam for that matter. And there's more voices coming on. It's all really fun. And it's enjoyable. And as we enjoy it, it's not work, and we're enjoying it more because of all these great things we're coming out of. So yeah, really happy with the way it's going.
Always fantastic, and we've already discussed it. We've already discussed it off, but like I said, if the Bevy ever needs anybody for AFL or AFLW, again, reach out. More than happy to hop on the podcast for sure. Hopefully, this time we don't have any issues with daylight savings time, which is an inside joke between
that
him
was
and
my
I.
fault. So for the listeners, we had Donny on last year when we were doing an AFLW potty. I think it was the preseason one, and I told Donny a time, just presuming he was on Eastern Standard Time, but he's obviously on Central. So he was an
You
hour
did
late, and I'm
not.
texting.
Yep.
I did, and I'm texting him, mate, are you joining on? What's going on? And he
Mm-hmm.
rocks up, oh, what's going on? It's just like, and I'm like, oh, I stuffed it up so
Okay.
badly.
Well,
that
little
was my fault,
bit of
mate.
context. He had the right time originally, but what happened is the daylight savings time happened the weekend before, and he had
Yeah.
scheduled a couple weeks before. So I'm looking at my clock and I see his text message because I had run some errands because I thought, it's at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me or something. I can't remember what time it was. And I looked at my phone. And I'm like, why is he texting me? We're still not for an hour. So I went about my day and I hop on the podcast. I click in and I literally hop into the podcast halfway through.
Your
Like
game.
literally, Polly and him are talking about something, and I literally hop in and I'm like, well, I feel like a heel right now. And I was like, I was about to X out, like I was about to get out. I'm like, and Chris just goes, welcome in, and just throws me in the middle of the podcast. It was absolutely hilarious. It was one of it was a lot of fun because I still got to chat and have a lot of fun, but it was it's the funniest thing. Like I said, I just hop in randomly and I'm like right in the middle of it. And I think it was a round review that we were doing. I can't remember what it was, what round it was, but it was absolutely hilarious. So it's an inside joke between the two, between him and I now that daylight savings time is a joke. So now that we've talked about the bevy, we will go to you, BT. As most of us know, you guys and the women are in their preseason. So how is the body doing? How does it look at the bloods? And how excited are the ladies to get ready? Because we are, as you said, 8 weeks away from round one, and you and the Pies lock up in the first game of the season. I am pumped.
Yeah, we are buzzing. What we're officially halfway through preseason now, so kind of, the grind of the start of preseason and knowing that the games are so far away is kind of like over. And it's sort of like, oh, we've got like, we've got this week and next week, which are big training blocks, and then a bit of a deload, and then straight into practice matches, which and then straight after that is a week off before we clash with the Pies. So it's bloody exciting, but we're training harder than we've trained in the last two preseasons. So yeah, we're working super hard. Yeah, bodies are sore, but they're meant to be in this industry. So no, all positive signs. Everyone's looking super healthy, and yeah, I guess the realization that we're kind of halfway through preseason is making us very excited, and I'm sure August 30th will come super fast.
Mhm. Well, I will tell you this. North Sydney Oval is probably going to be packed to the gills for that Friday night clash. I have to check and see what time it is, but I know that an American, waving my hand as I say this, will be up at 4:30 in the morning, no matter what, to watch the game. I have not missed a game live in a year. Unfortunately, the Hawthorn game in the grand final week was the only one that I have not watched live when it comes to the AFLW, just because I had to go to work at 6 a.m. I won't explain that anymore. I'm super excited. Cannot wait. It is going to be so much fun. Last year was an absolute ride and a half. I cannot wait for this year. Can't wait for the new additions that have come into the team. I can't wait to see how they come into the group. I know that it's going to be so much fun. I know a couple of them are down in the back line with you. I know, trying to think right off the top of my head, Kira Hiller,
Yara,
um,
yeah,
Davies, and then
Lara
yep,
Halsega,
yep. That's the other.
yeah,
That was the draft pick because I know Sarah Grundon is a forward. At least that's what she was drafted as. So
and Holly Cooper at this stage. Yeah,
yeah,
it's we've got a great balance, and to be honest, all of our draftees have just absolutely surprised us all, and will surprise you guys. Like they are training so hard, and I'm going to say the benchmark's really high for us because it's a different season, and yeah, no, yeah, get excited because we're excited.
I am.
Pretty
Chris,
pumped about this year.
Chris is definitely
Yeah.
excited for sure. Well, that is
Really
going to
pumped.
do it for the podcast again. So magnificent to have these two wonderful people with me. Chris, Brianna, again, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. That is going to do it for this episode. Keep an eye out. Sandful podcast will be out very, very soon this week where we review the Sandful W Grand Final, an absolute ripping Grand Final. Had to say that was a fantastic Grand Final, and then Waffle and Waffle W Grand Final review still hopefully to come this week. So keep an eye out for more footy coverage there very, very soon, and that'll do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. We'll be back again very, very soon.